Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for today's Northern Ag TV. We're coming to you from the Billings Hotel and Convention Center at the 2026 Montana Weed Control Association Convention. We're standing by with the Weed Control Association President Pam Converse. And Pam, it's been a great convention, a good turnout, over 220 registered attendees, and we're kind of day 3 into this here. Why don't you talk about just the Weed Control Association as a general and what this convention means to people?
You know, we've been doing this for a lot of years. Our association is made up of a lot of agency people, but it's also made up of a lot of landowners and weed groups, nonprofits, and just a lot of members of the public. And what we strive to do is just reach out to the public to make them understand that invasive plant management is not just about spraying, it's about building a community and all the different ways that we can actually reach out and stop invasive plants like our noxious weeds to the best way possible.
Absolutely, and as a nonprofit organization, the Montana Weed Control Association does a lot of work throughout the year, reaching landowners, producers, on a year-to-year basis. Just kind of walk people through that maybe aren't familiar with the Montana Weed Control Association. What does a typical year look like?
Well, the Montana Weed Control Association is by far our professional organization for all the weed managers in the state of Montana. So that helps to where we get our resources, whether it's education or we're getting, education for, say, children, getting playing cards or stickers or things like that, or lessons. And we also have the classes that we do for our licenses. Like a lot of places, we have to keep a certain amount of credits in order to keep our license current, which a lot of people don't know about. So in the winter, when we're doing a lot of paperwork, a lot of that is going to these kind of trainings. We put a lot of these trainings on. We have our annual conference, which is usually in the January, February area, and it encompasses the whole state of Montana. And then we have a spring managers training and a fall managers training. The spring managers training, a lot of times we'll do a spring in the east and a spring in the west, just to make sure, because our state is so huge. And we have such diverse noxious weeds throughout both. And then in the fall, that is one group together and it moves around the state. And so anyone can come, from people that are getting their rodent license for schools, or for like coyotes or helicopter pilots, or county weed coordinators that like I do.
You know, there's a lot of outreach to producers and landowners and a lot of publicity with these spring sessions and the winter sessions. But I think a big part of this that you have a lot of work with is the Noxious Weed Trust Fund, and maybe something that not a lot of people know about, and ways that maybe they can learn more. Why don't you just give us a brief update on what the Noxious Weed Trust Fund is and how it helps the Weed Control Association?
Well, the Noxious Weed Trust Fund, the monies come from a trust that was set up. Currently, it's sitting at $10 million, and so the interest comes off of that, and that's how we, as anyone that's associated with weed control, working through conservation districts or weed districts or that kind of thing, or like the MWCA, we can apply to get grants for either education, for research, and then for actually on-the-ground spraying. And those can be continued multiple years. Originally, that trust, and it comes from the license plate fees that are everyone in the state of Montana pays. So we are actually putting forth fighting weeds, whether you know it or not. And through those, as long as you have, like for the local cooperative grants, as long as you have at least 3 landowners that are consecutive, pretty close together, you can help to get for biocontrol or for spraying of the noxious weeds using, the herbicides, or revegetation, for example.
There's a lot of resources out there for producers, landowners, people wanting to get these noxious weeds under control. And as we look at, 2026, the new year coming along, we had a really wet fall in 2025, kind of a dry winter in spring here. What's the lookout or the outreach, the mission that the Weed Control Association is looking for here in 2026, or what's kind of that main focus moving forward into springtime?
First of all, is always look for your new invaders. Due to the diligence of Department of Transportation staff, Department of Agriculture, and a lot of those, even some of the county personnel, we were able to find rush skeleton weed, for example, on several stretches of roads and in parks and different areas where it's not usually found. Scattered small plants, which means we can eradicate them quickly. Also, the fact is that because it's been so dry and so warm, we actually have noxious weeds right now that are sprouting. I've seen thistle that are up, and especially spotted knapweed is already in that rosette stage. So first and foremost, as long as those temperatures are above 50, get your sprayers ready. Yep. Don't wait until the last minute, which we all have a tendency to do.
Absolutely. That's a great message to share here at the Montana Weed Control Association Convention. And that's going to wrap up today's Northern Ag TV. I'm Colton Young.